Hey guys, it's been a long time since my last video and I do apologize for that. I've been busy with life on top of working on this video, but I do hope you are all doing well and staying safe during this unusual time in life. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Anycubic Photon Mono Resin 3D printer. This printer is a competitor to the Elegoo 2, so hopefully this video will give you some information that will help you make a better informed decision if you're trying to decide between the two. Alright, let's get to it. First thing first, I pre-ordered this printer back during Anycubic's anniversary sale and it took a couple of months to get here. I've also been testing it out during the last couple of months and I've learned quite a lot about this printer. But let's start with the unboxing. This printer comes in a somewhat generic brown cardboard box that is designed to be open standing on its end. The printer itself is well protected by foam, so you don't have to worry much about the printer being damaged during shipping. But it also makes it a little tricky to get out because of how tightly everything is secured in the foam. The printer includes a base, which has the controls, the UV LCD screen, and the arm that moves the build plate. It also includes a UV resistant lid, an aluminum build plate, plastic resin vat, and a box of accessories. Inside the box of accessories, we have a nice metal spatula with a wooden handle for removing prints from the build plate, a measuring cup with nitrile gloves to get you started, some flush cutters, a plastic spatula for cleaning resin from the vat, some face masks, and tools for adjusting screws on the printer. Moving on to build quality, I have to say that it's good, but not as great as the Elegoo or Anycubic's higher end printer. For the most part, the printer is an all plastic construction with the exception of the print deck, build plate, and build plate arm. I suspect this was a way to keep the cost low, but it's not that big of a deal to be honest. A big positive of the printer is the UV resistant hood. I personally think the one-piece hood design is better than the flip-up door design of the original Photon and the Photon Mono SE, as it also easier to work with prints in the vat because you don't have to squeeze into a smaller space. Additionally, the Mono's hood is almost crystal clear clarity when viewing inside the machine to check on your prints. Initially, I was worried this might cause the resin in the vat to cure from ambient light, but so far it hasn't been a problem in the area where I have the printer placed. Setup of the machine is pretty straightforward affair, especially if you used any other resin printer before. If you set it up, then you'll be familiar with this process. You simply put it where you want to locate it, plug in the power supply, attach the build plate. Don't put the resin vat on yet, but you do put a piece of paper that included with the printer for leveling. You untighten all the screws of the leveling plate so it moves freely. You lower the leveling plate down by hitting the home button, and once it stops moving, once it's in its final position, you retighten the bolts, and that gives it the perfect gap and leveling that it needs for prints. Now let's talk about print quality, and I gotta be honest, this is the part that gave me the greatest frustration, but also made me the most excited. Before we can talk about print quality, I have to talk about the slicing software. Unfortunately, the Anycubic Mono requires the use of Anycubic's Photon Workshop to generate the print files that the printer uses. Unfortunately, Chi2Box wasn't supported at the time I originally got my printer, and I like Chi2Box and use it with my Mars, so the Photon Workshop had a learning curve for me to adjust to. When I first got the printer, I had to use the version of Photon Workshop that came on a USB drive because their website didn't have the newest version yet, but that's been corrected since I've owned the printer. After I adjusted to using Photon Workshop, I did find things about the program that I liked. However, the bugs were constant frustration. I can't tell you how many times I've hollowed out a print, had all the parts positioned just right, only for the program to crash while I'm cutting drain holes for the resin to drain out, which required me to start all over again. And it's not a fast program. It takes a while for it to slice things. I also tried to come up with workarounds where I did all of the setup in Chi2Box and then exported the STL or object file to slice with Photon Workshop, which worked, but it often caused the prints to have defects and imperfections. Some of these cases, there will be holes going through the print, similar to the effect you get when an LCD is dying. Other cases, I would get these solid rectangular shafts running from the build plate straight through my prints. Couldn't figure out why this happened, but it meant for each print, I had to use Photon Workshop and deal with all the bugs. After I successfully managed to get a file out of the Photon Workshop, the printer printed each part beautifully and was capable of preserving very fine details. I don't have any complaints with the print quality from this printer, and additionally, a big advantage of this printer was that the mono screen, which is different from the cheaper screens used in the original Photon and the original Mars. Not only does the screen last several times longer than the older screens, but it allows the print to print faster. I have my layer cure times set to the default 2 seconds per layer, which is a quarter of the 8-second layer times from the Mars, but I think the lift speeds are a little bit longer because it resulted in my prints taking half to a third of the time that it took on the Mars, which means you can crank out prints much faster and get those larger projects that you have to require several prints done sooner. I also noticed that the Mars 2 also uses a mono screen for the same results. Also, the print volume on both these machines is about 10 millimeters bigger in each axis, which allows you to fit prints that were ever so slightly too big to fit on the older printers. It's not a significant improvement to allow for larger prints, but it does help in those times. So I've been using this printer for about 2 to 3 months now, and despite the frustration that comes with Photon Workshop, Chi2Box has actually updated, at least in the latest beta, to support the new Photon printers, and I've been testing it out lately, and it works perfectly, and it's so much faster slicing than Anycubic Workshop, at least on my printer, so I recommend going that route. But despite all that, the Photon Mono, as of current, is now my default go-to printer when I make a print, because it's not only is it easy to use, reliable, it also has great printer quality and it's fast. Oftentimes I can get 2 prints in the same amount of time that it takes my Mars to print 1. Now I still love and use my Mars, that hasn't changed, but nowadays I tend to use it for additional capacity when I have a lot of printing to do, and will run both printers at the same time. But owning the Mono makes me wish I had the Mars 2 instead of the original Mars. I do think it would be nice if the base was made of all metal, but the plastic doesn't bother me. Also, the printer is almost silent because it doesn't have a fan that runs constantly like the Mars, and it doesn't seem to need it. Overall, I would highly recommend this printer if you can get it for a good price and don't mind. Well, now you don't have to worry about the bugs in Photon Workshop. You can use Chi2Box now that it's supported, and I say go for it. That said, if the Mars 2, at least on paper, has all the same benefits of the Photon Mono, and you can get it for a similar price, and you're already in the Mars ecosystem, then that might be a better route for you as well. Either way, I think they're both great machines. Well, that's it for this video. I truly hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to drop a suggestion for other videos down in the comments, and please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Till next time, stay safe and have fun making.